Hey, y'all. All right, so sorry for the delay, but I wanted to post a quick video for anyone that wasn't able to make my meetings last week about the final part of our APOS history summer homework. Okay, so this is in the Google Classroom. I've titled it the One History Project. Okay, the reason that I'm calling it that is this is really has to do with my philosophy about history in general, and the way that I view history is it's not like broken up into like individual events, okay? It's one connected history. So the way to think about it is history isn't like puddles, but it's like a river, okay, that flows from the beginning of the time all the way to today. And I really believe that if you understand history, you can bring that to your present life and that can help you understand the world around you. It's actually essential. And all the times, and I think that you will see this after this year. I think that this is something that you can get from my class is that after you learn about American history, sometimes it feels like you have a superpower because you're seeing things that the people around you really aren't seeing and they're not understanding. Okay, so this is going to kind of like be the project that we're going to use to unify all of American history. Okay, so from 1491, prior to the 1490s when Europeans landed in North America, all the way up until 2020. All right, so I've made a copy of this for all of you. Okay, so this is a template that you guys can feel free to replace. All right, what I want you guys to do is I want you to pick one topic. It can be kind of specific, it can be broad, it can be anything you want. But what I want you to do is I want you to try to think about what's going on in the world today. Okay, so like look out your window and try to think like what are the big things that are impacting the world today, and how might history help to explain those things? Okay, so there's a lot of ideas that people threw around that are really great ideas. You can talk about immigration, you can talk about trade, you can talk about the economy. Okay, you could talk about more specific things like race or sports, maybe. I mean, maybe. That would probably be a little bit tougher one. Music. Okay, there's things that you can find that have been consistent throughout the entire span of history in this hemisphere. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this history of, and then you are going to write whatever your topic is right there. Okay, in the brackets. All right, and then what you're going to do is first thing you're going to do is you're going to give me the present day situation. You're going to use a news article for this. All right. So I'll tell you how I did mine here in a second. Okay, but you're going to put that in here, 2 to 3 bullet points describing the current situation, and then you're going to insert a relevant image, okay, to that. Okay, you're then going to go and pick an event from time period 1 that links to the current event that's going on in the present day. You're going to give me 2 to 3 bullet points explaining why this is the beginning of it and how it relates to the present day situation. Again, relevant image. Then we're going to jump forward till time period 9. Again, 2 to 3 important events that are impacted it from 1980 until I'm going to say the cutoff for this will be 2016. Technically, our APUS history curriculum goes all the way until 2020. But for our purposes, we're going to kind of cut it off at the beginning of the Trump administration. I would say that is going to get us into what we would call current events. All right. And then make sure that you are saying what the direct connection to the events that are today. And then finally, you're going to write the continuity and change paragraph. This is just going to be, okay, when I say continuity and change, that's one of the big themes that we're going to discuss in this class. What are the things that have continued and stayed the same throughout the entire history? What things have changed? Okay, it can be both. It doesn't have to be, but it can be both. Okay, so you're going to be writing an argument to that extent. All right. Okay, so I did one. I didn't want to steal anybody's thunder and like pick a topic that you guys really wanted, so I picked the most boring thing I could, and I picked corn. Okay, the history of corn, and it's actually the more and more I've been thinking about corn, which has been a lot over the past week. Weirdly enough, the more I think how important corn is to American history. All right, so we're going to start off with the current day situation with corn. Corn is still a huge part of our economy. All right, I'm going to note, guys, here that when we're doing this, you don't have to do a works cited or anything like that. But if you're using a web resource, something that is not from your AMSCO, I'm going to ask that you guys provide a link. Okay, in order to provide a link, so this one is from WBUR, which is a public radio station out of Boston. Okay, and that's where I got that information. So all you're going to do is you're going to copy that hyperlink. Okay, you're going to go over, you're going to underline the relevant information, and you're going to go insert. Where is it? Insert link. All right, and then you can just paste that, and then that'll make that a web link. I'm not going to do this because I already have it. Okay, but make sure that you are citing where your information is coming from, that you give me that link so that I can be able to find where you got it. All right. So the big thing that I took, this is actually from a news article that happened just the other day. Okay, this is from AgWeb. Okay, which is it's an industry group that deals with agriculture. And last Tuesday, August 18th, China agreed to buy 195,000 tons of corn to help feed their growing pig population. Okay, this is a big deal. Okay, this is a big deal for a lot of reasons. If you've been following the news, you know that since about 2016, we've been engaged in a trade war with China. All right, and agriculture has been one of those really big industries that's been hit by that. Okay, obviously, there's a lot of people in China. Okay, so if there 3 point something billion people all of a sudden stop eating American corn or stop using American corn, that's going to be problematic. That's going to hurt American farmers. So this is a very big deal that kind of represents the beginning of this thawing of tension between the United States and China. All right, if we go all the way back to time period 1, prior to Europeans' arrival in the Western Hemisphere, corn is an immensely important aspect of Western society. I'm sorry. I say Western society. I meant Western Hemisphere. That has a different meaning today. I digress. Okay, so corn is hugely important to indigenous populations. And the reason that is you guys know from biology, corn is a starch, which is essentially a sugar. It's a really good, quick calorie thing that you can make a lot of to support large populations. That's one thing that's consistent throughout human history, is that population is basically governed by how much food you can produce. All right. So that's one of the reasons why we see that Mexico in Central and South America it grows faster. They have more advanced societies because it takes longer for corn culture to go to more northern indigenous populations. So that's why when we look at the architecture of the Aztecs, the Mayans, and the Incans, we have these large stone structures that we still have today, whereas that is not as prevalent in some of the indigenous tribes from the Americas and from Canada. Okay, so corn is what allows them to advance. And this is actually something that's taken, and I will note, guys, that when you are providing information from the AMSCO, all that I would ask that you guys do is that you just give me the page number. If you give me the page number, I'm going to assume that it's from the AMSCO. If you're using a print source that is other than the AMSCO, just give me the author's last name and the page number, okay? But other than that, if you just give me the page number, I will assume it's from the AMSCO. All right. I used an image. So this is the relevant image I picked from that. One thing I forgot to say back here, guys, is that as you notice, this picture is taken from the source that I chose. So I didn't give any sourcing for the image. Okay. Since this is from, I don't have any sourcing from it. I want you guys to tell me where this image is from. So this comes from a mural in Mexico City by the famous artist Diego Rivera. Some of you may know that name because Diego Rivera is the artist that made the mural of the DIA. So you're probably familiar with his work. This is a woman grinding maize. This actually entire mural is dedicated to the importance of maize in the Mexican culture. All right. So that's just make sure that you give me the link where that comes from if you guys are giving me a website, an image that's from another website. The other thing I talked about besides the other part of this story isn't just corn. It also has to do with world trade. Okay. And trade with Asia was a highly lucrative business, okay, that people have been seeking after for thousands of years. Okay. That is one of the main economic motives for exploration, is trying to find access to China to get goods from China, like we talked about silk and spices, okay, but also to bring European goods to there, okay, which is what we're kind of talking about today. All right, it's the fact that there is a lot of people in China, which makes it a highly desirable market. Okay, let's fast forward to time period 9. Okay, when we're looking at time period 9, we're going to see that globalization is something that has been going on since prior to Columbus's voyage, but in the mid-1990s, it gets a supercharge, okay, from some of the technological advancements that we're going to see. Okay, internet being one of those. All of a sudden, we have this instantaneous ability to communication. There's also a lot of advancements in shipping technology that made it so that products could go all around the world. All right, and this massive globalization has a lot of effects. One of the effects is that we see developing countries, we call these the BRIC nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, all right? These were previously nations that were kind of left behind from the Industrial Revolution. In the mid-1990s, their economies get supercharged, okay? So they start producing and manufacturing a lot of goods that are shipped to other parts of the world. Why do they do this? It's because they are able to provide labor at a lot cheaper cost than most of the industrialized world. This is going to have all sorts of different consequences, okay? But the main thing that we're talking about as far as it relates to my present day story is that China becomes a huge consumer market, okay? Because their wealth increases. When wealth increases, you're going to see that's going to be represented in the diets of the people where that nation is. And people are going to be able to afford meat, so they're going to start eating a lot more of it, okay? If you eat a lot more meat, what do you need to feed those animals? You guessed it, corn, okay? So they're going to need a lot more corn and able to support that society. Again, guys, notice my source here is Mother Jones, which is an accredited news outlet. All right, and you will see in a second that image that I chose was taken directly from that. Okay, so again, if the image is from one of the websites that you link to, then it's no big deal. Oh, I have a typo in here. Oh no, that's not a typo. They're dumb. Consumers, it's possessive. Okay, it's singular. Don't worry about it. I don't want to go into English mode. But anyway, increased meat consumption is increased demand for food stocks such as corn. All right. Okay. And then finally, here's my continuity and change. And feel free to read through it. But basically, what I want you guys to do with this is your first sentence should essentially be your thesis. Okay. That's your argument. Has it changed? Has it stayed the same? Is it both? Okay. And then you're going to give me basically points to support, okay, from both time periods 1 and time periods 2. And then finally, this is like the looking forward sentence. Okay. You're going to say, what is going to be the consequences? This is what we look forward, right? Because history isn't something that, again, exists in a bubble. It's something that we can use to apply to our everyday lives, okay? So think about how, given what you know about history, the patterns that you've seen in the past, how might that help you predict the future, okay? That's the ultimate power of history. That's the power of what you guys have. If you do have any questions, feel free to let me know. You guys will see the due date for this is September 2nd, all right, which is going to be our first week of school. I will give you guys an opportunity to present these for extra credit points, all right, once we get back to school. So please, please, please try to do a good job. I like all of you, or I think I do. I don't really know all of you, but whatever. All right, guys, that's it. All right, sweet.